Welcome back to the AI-driven marketing podcast. I am Dan Sanchez. My friends call me Danchez, and I'm here with Mark Fidelman, who is the host of the AI marketing podcast. So I'm on a kick of interviewing other AI marketers who are doing podcasts, and Mark is actually the top one. Like, I know you named that strategically when you picked that name, because when you do a search on Apple for AI podcasts, AI marketing podcast specifically, yours is up front. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And I should have named it Driven. It sounds like you're more driven than I am in AI, which you probably are. The facts are I started AI marketing 3 years ago, and then I rotate seasons. And only recently have I come back to AI marketing because I'm like, you know what? I've done presentations on AI marketing all over the country, and people love it. And these marketers aren't very sophisticated with it. I'm like, really? I do a show of hands at the beginning of these events, and only about a third of them raise their hand of people that are using AI in their marketing. I'm like, what? What am I missing here? If you're not
So you
using it,
started the show with AI marketing then?
I did
What year was that?
2020, I think. Yeah,
Okay. So
might
like
even
that
be
was really early. That
2019.
would have been early for AI marketing, period, because the AI was around, but like the only people really tapping into AI. Oh, you know what? I will say Salesforce had a big AI push maybe around 2019,
Hmm.
2018 with
Yeah.
Einstein, and they made a big deal out of it. But I honestly looked into it and I'm like, meh. I just felt
Yeah,
like
it's not
Einstein was
much.
so-so and actually helping.
Yeah.
So you were early. What did you see back then that you were like, hey, this is something to look into now?
More on the IBM Watson side and some of the other Salesforce, I think was an episode we did.
Yeah.
I was just covering, what marketers need to know about AI. Sometimes I got into healthcare. How do you market an AI healthcare? So it didn't necessarily mean AI for marketers. It meant, hey, how do you market AI within these other companies? Now, of course, everything is fine-tuned for me anyway, Dan, to be okay. Here's how you use AI to become successful with your marketing efforts. Which, if you're not using, you're going to fall way behind. But the good news is that it's easy to play catch up. There's a lot of tools, but you could just start tomorrow and become pretty proficient pretty fast.
So what do you think the current state of AI marketing is then? You've seen some of the early stuff in the beginning. There's clearly lots of talk about where it's going. Where do you feel like it's at right now?
Uh, well, very robust right now, but we're at the very, very beginning. So I look at this as somewhat of a marathon, running fast forward, but we're still at the 100-foot line because what's coming is mind blowing and is going to change everything. And just Sora alone, how many people would be involved in putting together a video? I don't know if you saw Balloon Head.
I did. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they're
It was
doing that
huge.
with, I don't believe this, but they said they did it with one prompt. I think it was probably multiple
No.
prompts and some editing in there. But so what?
Yeah, yeah.
Try filming that thing on your own without AI, and it's very realistic if you haven't seen it. So, I mean, if that's what we're looking forward to in less than 6 months, Dan, why do you need video editing teams? Why do you need video producers? Why do you need video anything? You just type in a prompt. It's unbelievable. It's like we're going to live in the Matrix here pretty soon. We're not going to know what's real.
Yeah.
I
It
don't know
did
if you've
blow me
seen
away when they launched it.
have you
I
seen
was
this?
like, go ahead.
Have you seen Synthesis or Synthesia by that's using ChatGPT 4.0 or whatever they're calling it?
I mean, I've seen ChatGPT 4.0, but I haven't seen the thing you just mentioned.
So literally, you can set up your own avatar or somebody else's, and using ChatGPT 4.0, which has voice capabilities, right?
Yep.
Pretty damn good. And you are talking to an avatar that looks real back at you, answering questions. You can ask it what it sees on your screen. It knows. Freaking scary, man. But you could use that for marketing, right? You could use it as a customer service bot, not even a bot, looks like a human. You could trick, not that you'd want to, but you could trick people into thinking that you're somewhere else. I don't know, man. The sky's the limit. I'm just getting my head wrapped around all this stuff that's coming out pretty quickly, and it's a brave new world.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not talking about a different company. You're talking about the stuff they just released this last Monday, right? With
Yes,
the
and that's
vision and to
the
be able to foresee.
Yeah, but so they're coordinating with OpenAI because this came out way too fast. Like
Yeah.
they launched it like the next day, and there's a pretty cool video on it on Instagram that I'll forward to you. You can put in the show notes here where they're demonstrating this looks like a female, attractive female bot, and you cannot tell she's not human, at least on Instagram, having a casual conversation with the guy who is real on the other end, describing his background and where she thinks he is. It's like, okay, where are we?
Okay, I haven't seen this.
Oh
So
yeah,
this is a totally different
I will
tool.
send this to you. And I'm thinking to myself, can you imagine when marketers get a hold of this tool, which is now, and what you're able to do with it? I don't know how if you have to train it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm going to dive into that pretty heavily pretty soon.
I mean, really, like it can't need more training than what you'd be putting into a chat bot right now. I
Yeah.
mean, because it's really like underneath the words that it's speaking won't be different from a chat bot, but how it goes about the conversation's a little bit different. So the text different, but underneath it won't go like it could theoretically perform as well as the best chat bot when it comes to what information it gives and how it navigates a conversation.
What if we could do this like this? Let's experiment. You can always cut this out.
Street style or something. Well, can you take a guess at what it might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup with those lights, tripods,
I
and
did see this video.
like you might be gearing up to shoot.
I mean, scary.
Yeah. The thing that stood out to me a lot about that video
Yeah.
is how smooth the conversation was from the AI. She sounded
Was
intelligent.
fast.
She sounded like interesting
Yeah.
and personable, way more than he did. Now he's a dev, so like
Yeah.
his social skills aren't at the same level as like somebody who's out there a lot. You know, like he sounds more awkward than she does, and she's
Right.
the AI. And I'm like, whoa, that's a new milestone.
I'm like, what is going to happen next? Now, I haven't. You can't zoom in on this to see if you can always tell in the mouth whether it's AI or not. At least you used to be able to. I can't tell. I haven't looked at it that closely, but Dan, I mean, even if you could tell slightly, what's Gen 2 of this going to look like? It's going to be
Yeah.
indistinguishable. You might have people falling in love with these AI bots. It's going to get weird fast.
So, I mean, for me, I started this whole podcast because the writing was on the wall to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is going to take over everything. And clearly there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. So
Yeah.
I'm starting this podcast to learn as much as I can because
That's
there's
why
no
I
books
did
on
it.
this topic. Usually I love books. I got a whole stack of books behind me. I'd go and find all the books written on the topic and read them all. There aren't any. So I'm
Well,
like, what's left? I start a podcast and go interview people who know what they're talking about, like yourself. So
I did
I'm trying to
exactly
figure it
the
out.
same thing, and don't ever read a book on AI. You can just have the AI write the book that you need to know now,
Yeah.
and then just read like Cliff Notes every day. I think the best way, and I do have a podcast for AI, as you mentioned, but I don't
Yeah.
have a newsletter, and I do have a newsletter for blockchain, which really forces you to learn this industry. So if anyone's out there listening, if you want to really learn AI, create a newsletter and you'll get a ton of subscribers, especially if you have a unique angle. Like I like to come out and talk about new stuff like this and how it benefits a certain community like AI marketing.
So tell me a little bit about that. I noticed your podcast went from AI marketing to blockchain heavy and is now kind of back to AI marketing.
Yeah.
You're learning different things as things are coming out. And I think we all had a blockchain kick. At least I did a couple of years ago. Gary Vee got me on it and I
Yeah.
went and bought the ETH and went through the thing. I never bought his stuff, but because ETH went up and I was like, I'm selling out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
and made some profit on it and got out.
Good.
But how where do you see all this coming together? How did you get into blockchain and now coming back to AI? And then how do you see these things coming together in the future?
Well, you've already stolen my thunder here, but I look at my podcast as going back to school. I don't want to go back to university. I had a good time, but my time is over with let's say traditional schooling. So that is my school, and I use it like you do to learn from other people and get their perspectives, and I learn a lot. So blockchain, I've got a blockchain company. Now we're going to combine AI in it, AI to do property due diligence because we have a tokenized platform, AI to help you build wealth. You know, so it'll tell you which properties on the platform will help you achieve your goals. And so we're bringing AI into the platform. So I needed to learn it myself. So I moved back from off of blockchain, which is moving just as fast as AI, by the way, in terms of the innovation that's coming out of it, over to AI. So that, because I know we're going to introduce AI into the platform, I want to become more knowledgeable about it and maybe learn something that's really going to make differentiate my platform from everybody else's.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about your product. Like, how is it using AI and then blockchain together in order to drive a better outcome? Like,
Yeah,
you
it's
kind of
not.
teased it, but like dive a little bit deeper into like
Yeah.
the workflow.
Okay, well, it's not yet, but I've got a grant coming for it, so I have to get really knowledgeable on it really fast. So, as you know, blockchain is very transparent. You could see every transaction, you could see everything that's going on it. You could see government interaction. Eventually, everything will be on the blockchain, and I'm speaking in terms of real
Yep.
estate. You
Yep.
don't need title insurance if you
Yep.
have a blockchain that records every single thing that's happened to this property and this token. You don't
Yep.
need it. The AI can go across it, and it can say, here's your your house facts or your commercial property facts report, like that, right? You know, Carfax. Well, this could, the AI could do that, do the due diligence, also send you a report on how the real estate market's doing in Zimbabwe, what the risks are, what the challenges are. Oh, it analyzed the financials because all the rents have been recorded on the blockchain. That's what's happening. It's going to happen fast, like in the next 5 years. Okay. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, well, our financial advisor is usually steering you a certain way, depending on what kind of commission they're getting from certain people or institutions. I want an AI that I wanted in my 20s, which says, hey, Mark, you invest in this, 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 and this. In 10 years, you'll have a passive monthly income of $20,000. That's pretty powerful. And the AI is making you stick with it. It's taking the money out of your bank account or whatever wallet you have set up. It's doing it automatically, and it's making adjustments automatically, so that it gets you to the goal of $20,000 a month passive income. That's pretty freaking cool. So those are the two things that we're developing with this grant, and I'm excited about it.
That is exciting. I kind of feel like AI and blockchain are kind of like a yin and a yang thing going on, right? Very different
Good.
technologies. Yet when you
Yeah,
put them together, they become a powerhouse because they
totally.
honestly they kind of create problems by themselves. AI, it's like, oh, the mass duplication of content and content everywhere, and you don't even know what's what anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's where blockchain comes in. It can verify authenticity in a way that AI can't.
Good point. I love the way you stated that.
So to you and me, it's clear that AI is a big thing now, has been developing for a while. It's going to take over marketing, certainly whole companies. What do you think some of the challenges are when integrating AI, the businesses are running into with integrating AI into their companies right now? I know you're a fractional AI, you do a lot of fractional AI work with
Yeah.
companies. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
The number one problem is people. They don't want to lose their jobs. Every one of these objections is understandable. There's a lot of resistance, especially because as AI infiltrates these companies and corporations, people are seen as less effective. Imagine a copywriter. AI can blow you out of the water. Not everyone. I still think the best of the best humans are
Sure.
still way better than AI, way better, because they know how to create those emotional connections. But most copywriters, the average ones, the even good ones, are going to get replaced by AI. It's just a fact, because I can program the AI just to study the masters, and it does a pretty good representation of it. And then when you get into images, and it is so incredibly interesting what's happening here. So people are threatened. That's the number one roadblock I see. Secondly, originality. Although I've seen some really original things with images and probably video that's coming up, I don't see a lot of originality in the writing yet. Like, I don't feel like there's AI that can duplicate a Shakespeare and make it original. Like, because they don't have a body, they haven't lived. They're just taking the experiences of everything that's been given to it and trying to conjure something up. But there's not a real connection to real life yet with this AI. I think it's going to come. But so I still think the best of the best are going to be in business for a long time. and everyone else, you better learn how to be the architect of AI. And that's your job security right there.
How are you walking companies through their strategic planning when it comes to AI? Are you just integrating, are you helping them craft or figure out where AI like fits into their strategic plan? Or do you like start with AI in the beginning? How does it fit into that process?
I always start the same way, which is what are your goals? And if you want to run campaigns, or if you want me to train people on how to use AI I don't do training, but we will come and show you how we will implement it for you. And if you want to sit and observe and take over in the future, we'll certainly work with you on that. But what are the goals? I don't really bring AI to the forefront. I just tell them, hey, this is why I could charge you a lot less and become way more effective, because we are leveraging AI tools in order to bring this to market, this idea, this marketing plan, all of the PPC that we do, PR to some extent with outreach using AI. But right now, I mean, there are a few companies that have been hitting us up, but right now I don't see, PR agents being replaced because somebody's calling, or, these journalists and having a conversation. It's not as good as Synthesia. Maybe that's the first thing I should try, is get a Synthesia agent to start calling all these journalists and explaining the story and seeing if they'll do it. Have a conversation with them about it. That's interesting. Interesting that we're just coming up with this on the fly.
Yeah. I know. It's the more conversations you have, the more you realize, I'm like, oh, there's more capabilities here that I didn't even realize until I started thinking about it and talking it out loud, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the PR thing can be really big.
Could be.
What's an example you have with one of the clients that you've worked with that you're like really proud of like, hey, they had this goal and AI really helped them get there faster, better?
Yeah, I mean, the one that comes to mind, and I'm under NDA with them, so I can't bring it up. I got to be a little bit careful. But let's just say it was a large web-based company, and they wanted to do automated outreach, so custom emails that were sent to influencers, and messaging that would look at their LinkedIn profile, would look at all their social media profile, and come up with very accurate and specific things about them. And I'd say the response rate was probably 80%, because you're hitting everything that they talked about and what they're doing and what their interests are, and you're painting it in a way that gets them to respond. And that was a big one. And we were not expecting that kind of response, but because we hit everything on there, about them, and shaped it in a way that it just drew them in, right? Telling them back, giving them back their story. I thought that was really effective use of AI. There's several more, but that one first came to mind. How powerful that is. I mean, how long would it take you to do that for 100 influencers? It would take you
a
months.
ton of time. Yeah, tons.
This was just doing it like this. Just give it the social media profiles and let it run. It was cool.
Yep. I've not done a lot of outreach. I usually do, if anything, I'm doing outreach for like podcasts or for clients' podcasts where I'm trying to get guests. Not as hard, because it's an easier ask to have somebody on a podcast, right?
Totally.
But I've always wondered, I'm like, what you just described, I'm like, oh, that's awesome for outreach.
Yeah.
But who's doing that for inbound? Like, how come no one's doing that with the newsletter? I finally just I built a little AI fundamentals course, and I just gather a few pieces of information based on a form they fill out, and then use that to auto schedule like a prompt that goes and says, hey, here's the transcript of the lesson. Here's what we know about the marketer. Now, GPT, write me a custom lesson plan. Here's the outline of what it should look like ish. Now, give me a custom lesson plan for a CMO in a beauty company, if that was the variables or whatever. Bam, it injects it into the email. So now it's a custom course. But I'm like, how do you go and automatically scrape their LinkedIn profile so I can pick up the things that they don't even know I know, and then put that into the course? Now that would be sweet, right?
Well, you can't do it directly. LinkedIn, for some reason, blocks it, but there are providers that give you I don't know if they scrape it. I don't know how they do it, but you can get that, but just by using these third-party providers, just as a tip.
Because that would be a cool inbound tool. Even if you only had to do it once for newsletter subscribers, on like the first time they subscribe, you do once, you go grab some interesting facts about them, and then you just sprinkle it in randomly into like content in the future. I'm like, I would like that. I mean, some people would probably find it creepy, but marketers wouldn't. That's who I'm talking to. So
yeah, not me at all. I would love it. I would love to get access to credit card data and be able to do that as well.
Well, that
I
becomes
don't know
really
if that's
profitable if you start sprinkling in affiliates and stuff into your newsletters and all that. Find their buying patterns.
Right.
As we look to the future, what emerging AI technologies do you think will have the biggest impact on businesses, specifically within marketing? Like, let's say, because within the next 6, 8 months.
I see two. One is something like Sora, which I think is just so mind-blowing. I don't even
Yeah.
know what more you need. I mean, you're going to need more than just Sora to do videos, but imagine how connected you can become to your customers if you have a tool like that that actually works the way I think it's going to work. Wow. I mean, you'll have people crying, laughing. I mean, it's going to be a crazy new world. And then, I think somebody's going to solve the advertising issue with on the PPC side. It's still a lot of guessing and and I know you're not getting enough data from Facebook anymore. It used to be
Yeah. It used to be
amazing.
great. Now it's a
Yeah.
crapshoot.
It's a
It's like no
crapshoot,
good
and
anymore.
they don't care. And we had all these whiners,
Yeah.
sorry, in the beginning that were complaining that, oh, we're getting, they're getting my data, they're getting my data. Well, they're just getting it other ways, and they're not
Yeah.
sharing it with advertisers. They got it, they're just not sharing it. And who
Yeah.
knows what's being done with it now? It's not transparent because they don't want you to know, so you won't complain to your congressman. But
Yeah.
uh, I think AI will be able to triangulate who these people are by, I'm sure there's data gatherers that are categorizing you and me, Dan, by our social media profile, feeding that to the AI, and the AI is going to be able to do some amazing stuff with, targeting us.
Yeah. I'm like, cookies are going to go away and AI is going to replace it real fast.
And
Like,
I'm going to enjoy
AI is
it
just going to go
because,
scrape it and follow you around and figure it out, but they could do it en masse. So we don't even need the cookies anymore.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to enjoy it because I want an AI agent to come to me and say, hey, I know you were looking for this, and I found 5 of it, and here's the best deal. And if you order today, you get, $10 off. I can't wait for that day. That's me. I don't
Yeah.
find it creepy at all.
Yeah. I don't find it creepy. I guess part of me knows I'm like, there'll be things for the consumers to block it too, as there always are.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, advertisers get a little too aggressive, and now we have ad blockers. So pretty soon it'll be like, have your AI call my AI. Have your AI come and advertise to my AI. My AI will sort the offers that I particularly want. That'll be interesting.
I think you should always have the right to turn it off. Absolutely. Your right to privacy should be paramount. And guys like you and I will just open it up. Why? Just say, come at me. I know what's going on in the background, and I'm not doing anything nefarious that I'm worried about. So, come at me. I want to learn. But I respect the fact that people like my 18-year-old son don't want any kind of footprint out there and doesn't want to be targeted like that. Okay, fine, just turn it all off.
Yep.
You better give them the right to, or else, I think a lot of people have a problem with that.
I tried to go full private or like just delete a bunch of my information. I got concerned about it. Because I had almost had credit fraud once.
Yeah.
Like I found out someone got my social security number, started asking for credit cards. None of it went through. Luckily, it got locked down and shut down.
Yeah.
But I got concerned and I just started deleting tons of information. And there's companies that will go out there and like shut down all the public information about you, which apparently, like, if you ever put in your name and your address, like how many data sites have information you didn't even know they had,
I
who
never
you're
put
married to, who
my,
your friends are, what schools you've been
yeah.
to, all the stuff. Like I went and there's companies that will go and take all that information out about you.
Totally.
So I did that once, but I realized I'm like, the AI is going to be able to get around that very soon. So why even try? Like, it's just, there's not going to be much you can do about it.
Well,
Kind of
on
like right
the,
now, most people don't even know how much data is out there about them, even if they are
oh, I
quiet.
know.
So,
I mean, on the address front, just use a PO box. That's what I do. Never put
right. That's the security block there.
yeah, anything digital, even things that aren't digital, like a school application, can get out there. I don't know why they digitize that stuff and put it out there, but they do. So I would always use a PO box and never put my home address if you're that worried about it.
Yeah. Who do you think owns AI in a company?
Who owns it?
Yeah, if it's going to be a technology that's going to be company wide, who should lead the charge in a company?
I don't think companies should own their own AI. I mean, they're going to compete with these juggernauts of Google, Microsoft. Elon Musk is coming out with, I think it's called Grok.
Grok, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mean like have their own LLM or
Okay.
LM, whatever it is. I don't mean like develop their own AI tech, but
Yeah.
who spearheads the process of making a company more AI driven?
Oh, okay. I definitely think the CTO should have a hand in it, but I I don't find too many innovative CTOs that are marketer friendly. There are some MarTech people that I would trust if they're CTOs, but
Mhm.
I think the CTOs kind of has to own it, but eventually I think there'll be an AI specialist if there's not already that comes in and helps implement it. But like anything, I don't want to give too much power, especially AI power, to any one individual. I'd want the head of marketing to say, okay, you're going to help me with this, and I'm telling you what I'm going to use. You're not telling me. But I have a bias because I've been held back by CFOs and CTOs my whole career.
Yep. No, they're definitely very security focused. And I don't know. I usually kind of have to I have to build strategic relationships with them just so you
Yeah.
can do what you need to do. Otherwise, they're going to strong arm all of your
Well, I
initiatives, right?
mean, my biggest problem is they go to legal, and then good luck getting around that. If an
Yeah.
attorney that's
Well,
not business friendly is saying this is a security risk or
yeah.
a litigation risk, it's over, right? So yeah, it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. You hopefully if you're in marketing, it's CMO or VP of marketing, just take charge of it and just let everyone know, hey, this is what I'm doing because it's going to save us X and make us more money,
Yep.
and apologize later. But that's me. I mean, I'm not saying put your company at risk, but for me, I drive it forward, and I'm seen as the leader at that point. And then people are usually coming to me, hey, how can I implement this in customer support? And
Yep.
it's less likely to get shut down or you get fired,
Yep.
one of the two. So maybe you shouldn't listen to me.
I do feel like marketing departments need to lead the charge in the whole thing. 'Cause they're one of the first ones to really benefit from it.
Yeah.
But as it starts to mature, to me, it seems like the whole organization is going to have to make some strategic choices on like larger AI tech,
Yeah.
like Microsoft Copilot. Like that's probably going to be implemented company wide, which means IT is going to have to be involved, which means it's probably going to need to be driven from the CEO.
But it's the
Maybe you need
IT
to hire an AI
guys.
specialist to help consult the CTO or CIO or whatever. Because
You
you're going to
could,
have to start, if you're doing it right, you're probably going to want to leverage your company's data source, right?
yeah.
Because that's where it really starts to, become a flywheel because it can learn and get smarter on the data set that your company has.
I find these people though are the business prevention team, and I hate to say that because they're afraid of losing their jobs. The CTO
Yeah.
must understand that an AI could manage the network a lot better. Not in every case, but in a lot of different cases. You always need a CTO, but maybe not 50 employees underneath you. So I'm always skeptical of letting them run anything. They don't want to lose team members. I get that. Uh, so be very careful. I've ran into a few that have tried to block these things coming in. I'm like, hey, whether you block it now, it's going to come in later, and you're going to be behind, and then you're going to lose your job. I'm that frank with them because I don't work for a big corporation. I'm coming as a marketing team or an advisor or consultant. So, but still, they're like, oh, I could save myself a year or two. And I'm like, what kind of thinking is this? That's the thinking of a corporate bureaucrat, right? That you're going to
Yeah.
be dealing with. So understand that might be what you come across.
Man, that's a good warning for those who are thinking about trying to be the like AI champion. I know they used to call them digital champions as people are just starting to use the Internet of Things in order to level up their whole companies. But
I mean, and those
now it's gone to
people,
digital to AI real fast.
yeah, I mean, I remember anybody that adopted this early stuff like blockchain the fastest, got the promotions. They also went to different companies with bigger pay.
Yep.
You'd be crazy not to jump on this and lead the
Oh,
charge.
yeah.
You will advance your career by decades if you're seen as the leader, because you'll be able to name your spot once you've mastered it. Let's say you're a marketing CMO at a mid-sized company. You're going to have big companies that say, "Holy cow, we've seen what you did there. We want you to come over here," and they're going to give you a heck of a lot more.
I just discussed like that data is probably a big thing. Where do you see data fitting into the whole conversation?
Well, So I look at data and AI as, okay, what's your sandbox? And do you want to limit the sandbox? Is it an open sandbox? How are you setting that up? So data is critical. I mean, everything derives from it.
Yep.
And it's how you package it up, or it's whatever the sandbox is that you define it. I'll give you an example. There's been companies that have wasted millions and millions of dollars trying to create their own version of an AI for a specific purpose. But then they test it against ChatGPT 4, and ChatGPT 4 still beats it. It's
Yep.
like, well, why is that? Well, it's because it's got more connections that are out there.
Yeah.
So you really have to be careful on the use case. If the use case is, okay, we're a chatbot and we just want to talk people through how helping them to use our software, I think you could sandbox that in, right? But if it goes beyond that and it requires connections from elsewhere around the web and continuously updating, do not try to compete with ChatGPT 4. Wait till you see 5, where it's asking you questions and really trying to get in the root of what you're looking to do. So it really comes down to what it is that you want to do, and whether you just need a sandbox or you need the whole world, but you're putting boundaries on it so you get to the answer faster. It's like prompt engineering, but it's done in the back end.
I mean, some of it can be training the model, but then there's like static data that I think AI can leverage in order to build personalized experiences, or not only for the customer, but probably for the prospect eventually. I was just talking to had a guest on the podcast that has a company that runs this AI tool that helps customize user interfaces for apps. So instead of just split testing things within apps, it like dynamically just deals with individuals one to one.
Yeah.
But it has to have a data set in order to do that. So like, hey, like Mark logged into this weight loss app and he didn't interact with this little piece of content.
Yeah.
So we're going to try something new, and we don't have to like split test it so many times before we know he's not going to click on it. It's like kind of like we've done this with people like him before. If he didn't interact with it the first 3 times, we're going to take that out. We're going to try this thing next. We're going to try this thing
Love
next.
it.
It's like customized for the user using AI, using good stats. But primarily data. I'm like, but everybody's got that kind of data. Even if they're in HubSpot, you have that kind of data. In Salesforce, whether you're running like a SaaS app or not. Like everyone's got that kind of data somewhere in their CRM. So far, I haven't seen a lot of people leverage that level of data yet with AI, but I feel like that's like a huge unlock when you could start to tap into the powerhouse of data that companies are already collecting.
Yeah, I feel like somebody's going to do that, and I imagine it like you go to Dan's website and the AI quickly figures out the user journey that Mark wants to take on your website and kind of guides me through it. It maybe dynamically changes the web pages on the fly based on what it thinks I want to see or do, or maybe even ask me a question. Can you imagine that? Where's that? Somebody hasn't created that dynamic website yet. I'm shocked. I'm sure it's coming. But I'd love a website that changes and morphs and is a chameleon according to whoever is on it, but really laser targeted. Like whether it's looking at a cookie from you or some pixel or something, it knows you, maybe because you're in my database. It starts to change your website experience because it knows who you are. I mean, what kind of that's a killer app. I mean, who wouldn't sign up for that?
I feel like that's the future with AI. I mean, right now, Sora has to be prompted in order to generate it, but eventually, like you've seen Facebook's new image generator AI, it's like real time. So as you're typing in the prompt, it's generating the image.
Oh, really?
You're like a girl, and it generates a girl on a
Yeah.
street corner, with a balloon, and then bam, the balloon's there. And it literally is doing it as you're typing it. It's so fast. I'm
Wow.
like, oh my gosh. Like it's
I
so fast that and it's like we're gonna be able to do this with video and whole
Wow.
websites. Like in a matter of seconds, it's gonna load and it's gonna be a personalized experience just for you.
Right.
A little video will pop on and maybe interact with you in real time. It's gonna be like a
Right.
freaking video game.
I mean, how are we going to know who's real, who's not? And I think
Blockchain.
yeah, it'll be able to validate if someone's real,
Yeah.
but will it really be able to discern whether somebody's real or not on video? Like if you're talking to somebody on video, the concept of catfishing, And
Oh yeah,
outside of
catfishing is going to become a problem in the
outside
future,
of
right?
dating,
Yeah.
I think there'll be some additional catfishing. These scammers
Yeah.
get a hold of these tools, and oh my God, they can impersonate your mom, your dad, your whoa, it's gonna get crazy.
Yeah. Well,
So,
hopefully
no, it's gonna happen.
Apple and
It's just
Google develop some tech to help block
right.
that. But
AI
yeah, that's going to be a
detectors.
problem.
AI detectors, right, for video.
Yeah.
So that's another business. We're giving out so many business ideas. Just make sure you credit us when you create these companies, and hire us as consultants to help build it out or something on it.
There you go. So something I've thought a lot about, and we'll finish with this, is I find that the future is riddled with these two extremes. On one extreme, on the opportunistic side, is kind of like Sam Altman's talked about the future of the the solopreneur unicorn,
Yeah,
billion in revenue, one
yeah,
person team, because they have so many AI agents that are making
yeah.
it so efficient that they can do it. It's probably a SaaS company. So, but still, I'm like, that's cool. That's one extreme. On the other extreme, I think Sam Altman's predicted that like 95% of marketers will, not marketers will lose their jobs, but 95% of marketing tasks will get automated through AI. Both I feel like are reasonable. They're pretty extreme,
Yeah,
but still
yeah.
not unreasonable. How do you see both these things playing out?
The first one is what again?
The solopreneur billionaire,
Oh
as
yeah.
in they will have these like super efficient
I feel like
people.
there's people on Wall Street or traders that have already done that, but maybe not $1 billion. But that's going to come. But yeah, I think a company will be run by one person and a team of bots. But then I would just say, why couldn't you just have a bot, the first bot billionaire? Why couldn't a bot do it all eventually? And now we're competing with, bots in business. How crazy is that going to be? And then why wouldn't government take over the bots and just run everything for us anyway? That's a scary proposition. I never want to see
And then we're getting
that.
into Matrix scenario where
Well, that's
nobody's
what I
working
mean.
and we're just eating and drinking and
Don't you feel
becoming
like
obnoxious.
we're heading towards video game status as real life? It just feels like we're heading that direction.
I don't know. In those kinds of conversations, you're starting to get into like worldviews and philosophies in order to try to decide what the future is, which are really fun conversations,
Mhm.
though I generally try to stay away from them for this podcast. I like to stay into the
Yeah.
practical, but they are fun to think about and talk about over a beer at like a pub somewhere.
But what I'm thinking is you might have a CMO as a bot that's running
Yeah.
things for you. If you're a CEO, we're far from that, folks. Don't get too worried.
Yeah.
But it's in the realm of possibility in the next 3 to 5 years. I
Yeah,
mean,
at the rate it's
that's
going. I mean,
yeah.
Sora was a major mile marker that I was like, oh, I thought this was at least a year or two out to
When
have
you
that
have
ability because we'd only just crossed it with images.
yeah.
Images finally just not long ago were like, oh, these look like real people. Huh, I wonder when video will come around. It's probably a few years out.
Oh
No.
no, three
Video
months,
is
four
out
months.
a month from then. Like
Yeah,
Midjourney 6 or whatever had just come out in December. And I'm like, wow, these actually look like freaking good.
yeah.
And then Sora comes out and it's like Midjourney level video. You're like, oh, that was fast.
And then if you look at what Dolly 3 is doing, where you can edit the image on the fly,
Right.
you just highlight and say, change this.
Yeah.
Imagine when video comes out and you have Sora doing that. I mean, that's good, total game-changing stuff. So why
Yeah.
not be able to train an AI agent with an avatar image that appears on a screen as your CMO to do CMO activities? And it already knows all the most successful campaigns that have been in the past and current, and it's drawing upon those experiences to create your own based on the data it has about your organization. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Now, I'm hoping these AI things will always be assistants or agents and that humans are always in control. I know we're going far afield here. And that's the future I would plan for if you're watching this. Don't think the AI is going to take over your job. Be the architect and
That's it.
make it your assistant. And you'll be fine for the next 5 years, I promise.
Yeah. I find that the future that I can see within the next couple of years, like next year to 5 years, the ones who know how to build and architect processes will be the ones that probably move forward the fastest because that's what you have to do with AI. AI is good at doing the manual task, but someone's
Yeah.
got to architect the process in order to deliver the value, whether that's in marketing or product development or whatever it is. Like someone's got to tell the AI what to do, which means you have to be able to think big picture in order to architect it so that AI can run its play over and over again.
You
But
got it.
not everybody knows how to do that well.
No, I mean, we're all still learning. And unfortunately, from my experience in speaking around the country, only a third of us are even using AI, which is mind blowing to me, especially in marketing.
Yeah, I'd say, and only a third of those people are even logging in regularly or have even paid for a single AI tool like
I don't get
ChatGPT
it.
Plus or something.
I don't
I
get
mean,
it.
even my techie friends are just now upgrading to Plus. So I'm like, I find that there's a small community of people like us that are like in it every day, all day. And then many people just aren't. They don't know how to leverage it yet, or
I,
think that they asked it to write a LinkedIn post once and it didn't do a good job, but they never learned how to really leverage it in order to do something good with it.
or the prompts or something like that.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to prompt it correctly. But to me, it's like, okay, you've been eating McDonald's hamburgers, nothing wrong with McDonald's, folks, but McDonald's hamburgers, and then you and I get a bite of Wally Burger out of Santa Monica if you've been there, and you're like, oh my God, I'll never go back to hamburger again. I mean, it is literally 10x better than anything that you're doing right now, unless you're the very, very, very top of your field for whatever the copyright that comes to mind. It's going to do a better job. It's going to do it faster and make you more productive and better just by adopting some of these tools. One in particular, ChatGPT as well as Claude Opus. Those are two tools everyone should be
Yep.
using right now as marketers.
Yep. Mark, this has been a wonderful conversation. I've learned a lot as far as thinking about how to approach this as a business, as an organization. I think the future is going to be very AI driven, and we all need to get on the ball as far as learning how to leverage these things in little ways, think about them in big ways, and of course have those bigger conversations for how to protect ourselves from theoretical futures too. Like I didn't even think about the catfishing part. I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to be a thing. I'll get to think about how to start recognizing that now, because that's literally around the corner. That's probably less than 8 months away.
I would agree. Oh, and I know with voice, it's already been done. So
Yeah.
I know somebody tried to scam their parents. They made this
Yeah.
public, scam their parents out of $100,000, claiming to be a daughter locked in a Mexican jail, almost wired the money, but they were able to get a hold of the daughter before they did, thank God. But they were convinced it's her voice.
Yeah.
So be careful
So
out there.
go check out Mark's podcast, the AI marketing show.
It's
And
number
where else
one
can they
on
connect with
the
you?
SEO.
That's right. You just go search for AI marketing. It's going to be the first one there. So
I'm joking. I'm joking. We're doing some
where
fun
else can people
things.
connect with you?
LinkedIn is probably where I spend most of my time now. I'm finding a lot of value in LinkedIn. They gave me this label, which I don't think increases my SEO value on LinkedIn, but it's kind of cool to see some voice of blockchain logo or something like that. Anyway, that's where I'm spending most of my time. Twitter for me used to be where it was, but not that I love what Elon's doing at Twitter. I like all the openness of it, but it's not as effective for what I'm doing. So LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you.